Thank you. Tonight we're going to have a presentation from Cornell Cooperative. I see that our speaker from Cornell is not here, but we'll go on with the agenda anyway. First, I have announcements to make. On the announcements, I would just make note that our brush drop-off is now open. We're open from today's Wednesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Vehicle size from car, small trailer to a six-wheel truck are free. Vehicles larger than 6 wheels are $15 per load and require a ticket from the town clerks. Tickets can be purchased there, and proof of residency will be required. Just to let you know, and if you do go in for brush drop-off, we have a mulch pile there. DEC requires that as much as we bring in the mulch, we bring out bring in the brush, we bring out the mulch. So if anybody in the passenger in a regular small car, homeowner would like to take advantage and bring some mulch home, please feel free to help yourself. We would appreciate it. So brush drop was available, and if you leave with mulch, we're more than happy. One other thing I did want to discuss real quick, obviously it's budget time. We have a budget hearing next month. The town of East Fishkill, we pretty much finished our budget. The town board has a budget, the preliminary budget, which we're considering. But I just got a call 2 days ago from the supervisor of the town of Fishkill. Anybody that lives in the Shenandoah Water District, we had already done our estimates and our budget for Shenandoah, but the supervisor in the town of Fishkill has notified me that they're looking to raise the rates in that district. We're going to take a look at what the amount they're going to raise the rates. We understand that Fishkill has had their problems in the last few years. I don't think that anybody in this economy can take a huge rate increase, but we will be meeting with the supervisor next week of the town of Fishkill to discuss their thoughts on what the rate should be in the Shenandoah Water District. So just want to let everybody know, we had our budgets were all set, all of our water districts were set, and this came as a bit of a surprise, so we'll keep you informed after our meeting with the supervisor of the town of Fishkill. That being said, I did want to mention a couple of things. Our community development block grant for Julie's Jungle has been prepared, has been submitted, and has been received by Dutchess County. So we made the application on behalf of Julie's Jungle, a playground for children of all abilities, and it's going to be located. Will be located at the Limekiln Recreation Center. Great project. So we hope that Dutchess County feels the same way, because we're asking them for a $100,000 donation towards that. So we'll see how it goes. I believe that the awards are going to be made early next year, so we'll keep our fingers crossed. And last but not least, I did want to make one mention. You don't see a lot of good news in the economic front these days, but Linnell, the company that owns the West Complex, has come back, and we've had several meetings with the people from Linnell, and they took out a demolition permit last week, and they're going to be they're demolishing 2 of the trestles. They're going to take out all the pipes, scrap the trestles and the pipes, and they're going to take 2 of the buildings. They're going to demolish. They're going to take down the interiors right down to the walls to make it habitable, or I should say marketable, to new business ventures coming in. So we're very happy to see something happening on the West Complex. And one other thing I do want to mention is that I think it was probably May, June of this year, we had an application before the town board for rezone for Sports Dome. It was for a lot to be located out on Route 52. When you looked at the project, great project, the Sports Dome is a great thing, but on that parcel, it was just too much. It was too intense. It was only a few feet from the property line. Well, the people that are proposing the Sports Dome are very, very seriously interested in putting it over the West Complex. So this could be a tremendous thing, because if this all works out, we could have a Sports Dome at the West Complex. In my mind, would be one of the drivers to redevelop the old West Complex over there. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. We're glad to see the demo permits are in place. So little activities taking place over there, and if the Sports Dome comes out, wow, this could really kickstart the whole thing. So there is a possibility of some good news on the economic front, so I just wanted to share that with everybody. That is all of my announcements for this evening, for this part of the meeting. Cornell Cooperative is a little bit late, so clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilperson Walker?
Present.
Councilperson Cassidy?
Present.
Councilperson Danke?
Present.
Councilperson D'Alessandro.
Present.
Supervisor Hickman.
Present. Thank you, Clerk Array. Next on the agenda is to approve minutes of the minutes were previously approved for September 26th meeting and special meeting in October. So, Carol, these minutes were already approved.
We only need to approve the special meeting. the
Okay,
small
so we
one.
still need to approve the minutes for the September 26th, 2013
No,
meeting.
October 3rd.
Oh, the October
October
3rd,
3rd.
sorry. For the special meeting, okay. Has everybody taken a look at the minutes? Carol, have you received any comments, changes, anything to the minutes? Do I have a motion to accept these minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Well, we might as well keep moving on the agenda while we're waiting for our friends from Cornell Cooperative. Public comments on agenda items only. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any of the items on the agenda? Anybody at all? Now, the podium is set over here for the presentation, but you can present from there also.
All right. I want to talk about the Francis Drive drainage going on that you're going to vote on tonight. I live in Hillside Lake on East Vacation. About 3 years ago, I came to the board and I explained about my water problem on my road. We put a couple of drainage ditches in at that time, and I was promised that the rest of the road was going to be done in the near future.
Okay,
That was 3 years ago.
okay.
I'm still getting flooded in my front yard. I spoke to Scott many times about it. He told me, talk to Dennis. I've talked to Dennis, and I've gotten nowhere.
Okay.
So now you guys are going to spend $100,000 on the next community, and my road is still getting flooded out. I get all the
Excuse me?
water from the
Excuse me?
upper...
Let me just say, we're all one community.
Right, I'm getting all the
We're
water
all
from
one
the upper
community.
streets, and it's coming down right into my front yard, and that's right where my well is.
Okay,
So,
all right, and East Vacation?
right.
I mean, all I can do, I can speak with Dennis, we can go out and take a look, I can ask him if he, when.
Yeah, he
we-
knows
we have-
perfectly. I've been on the phone with him many times.
Yeah, I understand that, and we have a lot of projects. This project actually has been on the agenda for quite a few years itself.
Well, like I said,
So-
it's 3 years I've been trying to get the rest of my road done.
Okay, East Vacation,
Yep.
all right.
Scott, is there a?
I haven't been there. I know Dennis has been working on it, so I have not gotten involved in that project directly.
Okay, but he did come out, he did some work. Three basins.
couple of basins.
Okay,
Down at the other end.
okay,
Scott was involved with that.
okay.
We were involved with the permitting from the
rest of road was
DEC.
gonna get done, and that's 3 years in the making, and it's still out.
Okay.
Did that help?
Yes, the kids used to wait on the bus there, and they used to get drenched. Now they moved the bus stop up to the upper road, and it's the same thing's happening now. All that water comes down from Grace, it's like a river.
Which road does it come off of, Grace?
It comes off of all the upper streets.
All the upper
It's
streets.
We're the lowest street.
Okay.
I'm sure that Dennis has some plan. He probably fixed it to the best of his ability without, I'm sure those are all tied in. So,
Yeah.
I'll speak with Dennis.
Yes, if you wouldn't mind, I'll talk to him also, and I will tell you that we have a laundry list of these type of, and you know what it is, it's probably just a few day job. But we have so many of them, but I'll mention it to Dennis also, we'll see what we can do about that. All right? All right, is there anything else on public comments on agenda items only?
Is that mulch for sale, or do you have to pay for it in order to support it?
What we do have on the agenda, Marty, we're going to, because we do have a lot of mulch out there, we're going to see if there's a business would like to purchase our mulch. But if you go in there as a homeowner, you're dropping off your brush, you have a couple garbage cans, or you have a small truck or trailer, you want to take a load of mulch, we're more than happy for you to take the mulch, and that's free. But if we get a business or somebody commercial that wants it all, we'll charge them a nominal fee. Whatever we can get back helps the budget over there. Yep. All right, well, why don't we do this? We can probably do the Cornell Cooperative at the end of the meeting. So we'll move to receipt and file. Clerk Harade, do we have anything under receipt and file?
No, we do not.
No, we don't. Thank you. All right, we have one public hearing on the agenda for this evening. Public hearing to consider amending the local law on eco cottages. as a use in residential zone. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have- All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearing is now open. Just a matter of explanation, we had adopted a law, Local Law 2 of 2013, elderly cottage housing opportunities as an accessory use. And this is, we call an eco cottage. We drafted the law based on certain criteria, and what has happened, we've had a gentleman come in who has applied for one, but the criteria of other manufacturers is a little bit different than what we allow in our law. So I want to bring that to your attention, and we did want to make just a few changes in the law that we had adopted. And the amendments, I think we'll have a list of the amendments. For no variance as to lot size will be allowed, and the lot must contain the minimum required for the zoning district. We had a little issue, and this was with the original ECHO, they were gonna be leased. Suddenly, after we adopted the law, they were gonna be sold. So I don't think we need to be involved with it's leased or it's sold. Our only concern is, when its use is done, it's removed. So for that, we have a $15,000 bond that they will post. So it's really not our concern if it's leased or sold, but it will be removed from the property with the proper time. We would want to replace one of them. From Board of Health had asked for a little bit clarification on their requirements for this, whether it's another bedroom, whether it's not. And the one that really triggered this whole public hearing tonight, the structure will meet the requirements of ANSI or HUD codes, which is we found out after this gentleman came forward with another project, that HUD code, some of these eco cottages, because they're made in factories. They're made in factories, they're purchased, brought to the site, set on the site. And there's two different kind of codes at the factories. They either stamp with an ANSI certification or a HUD certification. And I met the people from the distributor that do these, and it does appear that HUD, obviously it's a federal designation. So they would ask if we accept the HUD designation as well as the ANSI, which to me, it seemed like a reasonable request. It meets all standard building codes, all codes for whatever disability or anything like that. So, one thing I did want to mention to the board that I did want to remove also from our code, you see, we get into a little bit too much detail in section 14, gable roof, architectural. But when we start getting into the refrigerator, the bathroom and all that, I don't really think the town needs to be, I think as long as it meets code. If you need a wheelchair, and I'll defer because the attorney's giving me a look now.
No, that's deleted. Well,
That is
it'll be
deleted,
deleted by this amendment.
so we'll be good with
That
that.
is deleted.
Okay, and that's my concern, because as long as it meets code, I think it's up to the person who's purchasing it to say, I need this or I need that. They will know the circumstances. So that's my little brief explanation on the public hearing to amend the ECHO Law 2 of 2013. So that being said, any debate, any discussion on the board?
I had a problem also with that. First they were gonna be leased, now they're gonna be sold or what have you. Now, is the $15,000 bond sufficient if it's to be sold?
I believe it is. I mean, we've discussed what is it gonna take to have one of these removed. If they don't remove it, we will have it removed.
And how do we go about making sure that the bond is intact? Because I know that we've had problems in the past where bonds have expired and.
Well, we have set up a system where
We
we
have a new
track the
system.
bonds.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
that's
we'll
great.
be fine with tracking and being sure that that bond is. And I do believe it that the code said there will be an annual
Yeah,
review of the,
I don't know.
They
an
have to
annual
resubmit
inspection.
the certification
Yeah.
of the individual
Yeah.
every year.
So I think it meets all the criteria. I think it meets all the needs of the elderly.
And also, was there a permit fee for this? Because there was nothing in the law.
But that's set in your resolution of fees that you set. This would be the same fees of building.
Okay.
It's $375.
That's what I
The
was-
minimum.
it's building permit. Thank you.
Okay. Peter, any questions?
Just as long as we're tracking it and the bond's there.
Ethel?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Bill?
Good.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor or against these amendments to the Echo Cottage law?
Nick 11 kind of speaks to it. The Echo unit shall be removed and the site restored within 90 days of the death or permanent change of the residence. So
Yes.
that,
Yep, weather permitting.
Right.
And then 15 is the bond of 15,000.
okay.
All right, if there's nobody further to
Excuse me?
speak on it?
Supervisor, I just had one brief comment.
Yes.
On 4,
Yep,
because this kind of came into play on another application, it says where practical, the unit will be in the rear yard.
would you like to remove where practical?
Well, it's just practical by whose
By whose standards?
standards.
As determined by the building department, where
Well,
practical?
why don't you say the unit be in the rear yard unless the zoning board approves otherwise?
And leave to the zoning
Okay.
board, but they cannot change the lot size, but they could
Right.
still change the side or
That works.
or rear. Okay, no, that sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else?
I just hope that they make a site inspection before they,
Oh, yes, we do. Yes, we do a pre-site inspection
Right.
before anything is done. All right, with that, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
second,
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Public hearing is now closed. Nice stuff here. Do I have a motion to adopt a negative declaration on to amend the local law 2 of 2013 for Echo Cottages?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Do I have a motion to adopt the amendment to local law 2 of 2013?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I will say that we do have an applicant with an elderly mother-in-law, and the unit they're looking at is HUD standard certified, so I think I'm glad we could do this tonight. So, thank you very much. All right, resolutions. The first resolution of the evening is to authorize a settlement for a tax certiorari with respect to Do Realty on Route 376. Whereas Do Realty, the owner of a certain property within the town of East Fishkill, has brought tax certiorari proceedings for years 2012, 2013. After review and consultation with towns outside appraiser, it has been recommended that a reduction in value of $200,000 be authorized. I'd like to know if the town board would like to discuss this a little further on this tax certiorari.
Yeah, is there a recent appraisal done on this property?
No, this was just a letter appraisal, they call it, a quick look at it by the town, so that if the board would be more comfortable, we could order a full appraisal, and then the applicant, the petitioner also gets a full appraisal. And then that would be a little more substantial for you to determine if it's appropriate.
Okay.
Okay.
So this has just been based on a paper appraisal, like,
This is what they call a letter appraisal, it's
Okay.
not really a formal appraisal.
okay, all right. Any further discussion? What's the board's pleasure?
That's a fourth,
You want to table it then until it's,
Would the board like to table this till we can get a full appraisal?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
prefer a full appraisal.
yeah, it's a 25% reduction.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay. Ethel, would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we'll have to notify the Do Realty, Inc. that they're going to have to do a full appraisal.
Well, I have to advise the court that that's
Oh, it's
what
through the
town
court,
wants.
Tom. I
Yeah,
didn't realize
It's already
that.
pending in court. We have a conference next Tuesday, the 29th.
Okay,
So I'll advise Judge Brands and the petitioner's attorney.
okay. At that time to do a full appraisal.
And he'll
Okay,
set a timetable for everybody to submit their appraisals.
okay. Oh, terrific. Great, thank you very much. All right, resolution number 2 is to authorize a change to the December town board meeting dates due to the upcoming holidays. We know everybody likes the holidays, and because we had a meeting scheduled for December 26th, that would have been Christmas Eve. Nobody here wants,
Yeah.
or no, I'm sorry, the day after. Nobody here wants to be here the day after Christmas with me, so, all right. Do I have a motion to set the town board meeting date for December 12th? And we will cancel the December 26th meeting. The December 12th actually will be the scheduled voting meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much.
We don't need a year-end meeting?
Yes.
That will be the year-end meeting, and then we'll have reorganization early in January.
We don't have to do one at the end of the last couple of days of the year anymore, that's right.
No, we don't.
Yep.
Not like years ago, Peter.
That was
You're
probably-
showing my age now.
That was probably pay bills, wasn't it?
Yep.
Right, yeah.
We don't pay them anymore.
Nuts.
We have a controller to pay him now,
Well,
so
we
we're
pay the
good.
bills in a much quicker manner.
We're
because
good,
The town
we're
board
good.
doesn't look at it.
More efficient.
All righty, resolution number 3, Councilman Danke, would you like to read resolution number 3?
Yeah, it's a authorizing an emergency power generator at the community center. Several months ago, I spoke with John about the possibility of putting a generator at the community center to serve as an emergency site in case of major power outages, which we've had several in the past few years. The last one we had, the only emergency center was the fire training center. Since then, Hopewell Hose next door has a generator.
Yeah.
And if we put one in the community center, especially with certain needs of our seniors, then I think we have the town very well covered. So I spoke with Jan McHugh about that, and she looked into it and does the resolution. Whereas the town's community center is a public building and available for public use, for use by the public, and whereas it has been determined that it would be appropriate for this building to also have a backup power in case of power failure to provide shelter for seniors and others who may be without power within the town, and whereas it is appropriate that all public buildings have backup power, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized to expend a sum not to exceed $30,000 for the installation of a generator to power the community center in case of power failures, and be further resolved that said generator shall be technically approved by the town engineer, and be further resolved that the controller hereby is authorized to appropriate the $30,000 from the Recreation and Land Fund in lieu of fund for use of the community center.
Great, thank you, Bill. And one thing I would point out, well, actually, I made you read the resolution because you're the one that got after me by having a generator, but I couldn't agree with you more, especially with the last few storms we've had, the last couple winters. We really need to have what they call a warming center for our residents. So I think it's a great thing. We actually gotten some estimates on these things that were much higher.
Much higher. Jan
So
did a-
the
she did a good job.
$30,000
Yeah.
is a good.
And not
good-
to exceed that, I think it quite possibly could come in lower,
Yeah.
lower than that.
And we've asked Highway if they would come in, if they do the concrete pad work for us to save us a little money. So we'll do whatever we can to save money. And I'm not sure, Mark, do you recall what is left in our recreation development? I know I had a
It's just a few thousand over 1.2 million.
1.2 million, a few thousand over 1.2 million? Okay, so I mean, we are always careful of our rec development funds. With 1.2 million, I think if we could use the 30,000 to this, I think this would be a worthwhile cause. So do I have a motion to authorize emergency power generator at the community center?
So moved.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Is it automatic turn on?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Okay.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And
My
we'll get-
only other comment is that we're using the building and it's a recreation building. It
Mhm.
would be nice that we'd get some money from somewhere else too, besides the rec development fund, if that's possible.
Are you looking at our controller?
Yeah.
She's giving you the
Because, you
controller
know,
eye.
And he's looking at the attorney.
unless
It's
you're
certainly
aware of
possible.
new developments, I don't know,
There had been grants for these things
Yeah.
years ago. It seems like there's no money for these types of projects anymore.
I'm
And-
just thinking under FEMA or one of those.
Well, we'll look for
Okay.
grants, but boy, it just hasn't been easy anymore. We've looked. But we will see. We also, I mean, you know, in the resolution, it says all public buildings should have emergency. But
Right.
we don't have emergency
No, I
here
know.
either. So I think this is something that we're gonna
Right.
need to do over the next few years. We'll do the community center first. Hopefully, maybe next year, we could budget to do the town hall. I think we're gonna need to budget to do Lime Kiln also, because, you know, if you're out for any amount of time, it's really nice to have the shower facilities over there. So I think this is probably where we're gonna go. We felt it was probably best to start with the community center, though. So, and we will look to see if we can find any money. But
Maybe you could use some portables instead of up in the 30.
now, you know, we looked at that, we kicked that around, but
Right.
really the best thing is just to have
Go
it
for it.
stationary and just to do it.
The propane's there, so.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
propane is there too, so. All right, very good.
I just hate to see that fund being hit up all the time.
Oh, I
when it's-
understand that. 1.2 million in that fund, right, Mark?
Yes.
In the rec development fund. And we know that right now, there's not a lot of projects coming
Right.
out. But I will tell you this, as Mark and I said at the last meeting, this has probably been the toughest budget meeting for the town. So there's not a lot of,
Places to go.
exactly. We're hopeful that maybe in the next year or so, we would always be there for recreation, to be honest with you. I thought there's something they needed. I think, I can guarantee you, we'll always be there for them. Right now, we're just not seeing the cash flow that we
Right.
could see in the past. And we certainly are cognizant of our rec development fund. We want to keep a healthy fund. So. All righty, now, Bill, I also ask you to read resolution number 4. As the liaison to our police department, I would ask you to read that.
Okay, it's a resolution authorizing employment agreements with the police chief and police captain. Whereas the town board previously has authorized the extension of the collective bargaining agreement between the rank and file police officers, sergeants, and lieutenants in the police department, and whereas it is appropriate to enter into employment agreements with the chief and captain who are non-union, whereas the raises reflected in said agreement are consistent with those provided in the PBA collective bargaining agreement, now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized to execute employment agreements with the police chief and captain, providing for raises in the amounts given in the collective bargaining agreement with the PBA. And be it further resolved that the terms and conditions of said agreement shall be as contained therein.
Thank you, Councilman. And everybody, we have reviewed the contracts. I know that the controller and the attorney have worked very hard on these agreements with the police chief and the police captain. So do I have a motion to authorize this employment agreement with the chief and the captain?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All righty, number 5 is to authorize funding for drainage work at Francis Drive. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you like to read the resolution?
Whereas the town has previously studied a serious drainage issue on Francis Drive in the town, and a plan has been developed to correct said flooding issue. And it is the desire of the town board to authorize said project and appropriate funds therefor. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the correction of drainage problems on Francis Drive by the town highway superintendent in conjunction with the town engineer. And that the town board does hereby appropriate in the highway fund the sum of $100,000 for said project. Be it further resolved that said funds are appropriated from the fund balance.
Thank you, Councilman. And one thing I'd like to say, we've recognized this as being an issue and a very, very difficult drainage issue to resolve because of the elevation of the property, the land around the property, and where the water has to discharge. So it actually is quite an extensive project. We've done engineering on it. We put together bid packets. We've actually bid it out, and it's always been a problem. We've actually we looked at other alternatives. Is there any way we could get ourselves an easement? But nothing we did, we could never find anything to really solve this problem. We really are just going to have to go ahead and do this job, but it will benefit the people on Francis Drive. So, and believe me, sir, we don't forget, but there's so many little, and this is not a little project, obviously, but there's a lot of these issues that we will be taking care of.
If I could add, I've sat in several meetings with Scott and Dennis and you, and this is a very complicated issue, so
Yeah, not an easy one.
not easy at all.
All right, with that, do I have a motion to authorize funding for new drainage work on Francis Drive?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. And I'll keep you posted on the progress. We will be putting out the bid in the near future. Councilman D'Alessandro, would you like to read resolution number 6?
Okay. The highway superintendent and town engineer have had the Carroll Drive Bridge analyzed by an independent consultant, and following a review and inspection of said facilities, it has been determined that it is appropriate to set a weight limit for said bridge to protect the public safety. And it is the desire of the board to formally set the weight limit. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll Drive Bridge be and hereby is determined to be restricted to weights not exceeding 22 tons. And that the highway superintendent be and hereby is authorized to directed to post said weight limits forthwith.
Thank you, Councilman. Along with that, we have a town engineer's memo discussing posting the weight limit on the Carroll Drive Bridge. And this was actually upon recommendation, I believe, Scott, from our traffic consultants, Hudson Valley Engineering.
Yes.
And you met with, how far have they gone with this, Scott, as far as, we haven't done like underwater borings of the
No,
pilings?
that
or
would be the
anything?
next step. At some point, we have to do pile tests on the condition of the piles. There is some deterioration in piles, which ultimately will dictate what the maximum capacity is. And then there was some retrofit work on the cross members that need to be steel reinforced. But until we do the pile test,
Right.
that's the first thing.
And I think one of the issues with this bridge is because some bridges are arched and they don't have anything in the water, but this one unfortunately has its piles right in the water.
So it's susceptible to.
Yeah, to damage, to all kinds of rotten fatigue, so, all righty.
What's the, I know we've discussed this too at a meeting, what did the limit, the big fire truck, what's their weight?
The big fire
The
truck's
biggest.
gonna be greater than 22 tons, but what you have to keep in mind, there's always a factor of safety built in here. And
Okay.
for a sporadic,
So for
you
an
know,
emergency, that would be a
situation,
safe thing to do.
You wouldn't be safe.
Okay.
It's the redundant loads that are gonna put the
Right,
strains on the
okay.
So also,
And one of the driving factors in specifically analyzing this bridge is there's a proposed development up the road that is gonna have to utilize this bridge during the construction phase, et cetera. So by having this data available, we'll be able to help the planning board decide in the environmental review process whether or not that developer is obligated to contribute towards the cost of the repair or any other modification to raise the limits for the needs of the development.
Yeah, and obviously, I think we all know one of the problems with this bridge, this is the only bridge in and out to,
Right.
how many houses, 69 houses, something like that? Something like that, so that's the consideration, that if we lose this bridge, we have a serious problem. So we want to make sure that we're safe with the bridge and go forward from there, so.
and after I was reviewing the structural assessment that they did, and nothing was really above a 5, which was considered fair condition. How old is the bridge? 80, 86?
Mid-80s, yes.
Yeah.
Mid-80s, right.
You know, and an interesting thing, prior to our analysis, the DOT had rated it in good condition, but the fallacy in that is DOT only rates the superstructure, the deck itself, because typically a DOT bridge has, concrete abutments. You don't see a timber pile in a DOT bridge, so while the deck, passed, they never even looked at the substructure, so that's the weakest link is the substructure.
Wow.
No, if this
They never
goes,
looked at the
They don't,
substructure?
their policy is that
Really?
they don't look at substructures.
Okay.
Well,
now if this goes, this is a town responsibility to replace the whole bridge too? Is it the town, if this bridge went,
Yeah.
the town's gotta replace it?
As it
Yeah,
stands
we'd have
today.
to build it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we wanna make sure it's safe, we wanna make sure it lasts for a while. Actually, I sit on Transportation Council, and I'd asked the council if there's any funding out there from the federal government, from the state, and there really is nothing for a bridge on this type of road. If you had a Route 84, if you had a Route 52, seems like there's funding, but if you're on a small town road, there's nothing, so it would actually be our responsibility, so. So anyway, with that, do I have a motion to authorize weight limit on the Carroll Drive Bridge? So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Number 7 is an authorization to increase the petty cash account for the town clerk. Whereas recent changes in state fines, penalties, and surcharges. I'm sorry, town court, justice court, I'm sorry. I read justice clerk. Been a long day. Increasing the petty cash fund for the town justice court. Whereas recent changes in state fines, penalties, and surcharges requires that various amounts of change be provided by the justice court, and said increases required single dollars be kept at the court. been deemed that the existing petty cash fund is insufficient to satisfy the needs of the court. Now therefore be it resolved that the supervisor be and hereby is authorized to establish a $200 petty cash fund in Town Justice Court for the use of Town Justice staff for making change due to recent amendments to the state law and fine amounts. And we do have a letter from Chief Clerk of the Justice Court requesting money. So, do I have a motion to increase the petty cash fund for the Town Justice Court?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. You'll make a very happy court clerk. Peter, would you like to read resolution number 8?
Sure. Whereas the town board has been provided with a listing of vehicles which have been deemed to be no further of use to the town, thus should be considered surplus. And whereas the town board has reviewed the said list and concurs, now therefore be it resolved that the vehicles listed on the annexed list be and hereby are declared to be surplus and vehicles are to be disposed of by the town. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor be and hereby is authorized to dispose of said vehicles by participating in an auction process previously utilized by the County of Dutchess with Doyle auctioneers without cost to the town. And be it further resolved that the sale of these vehicles shall be further approved by the town board.
Thank you. We have a list of 7 vehicles. 4 of them are regular town vehicles. I believe we had gotten 3 also from the police department.
John? It's absolute.
Yes.
It's
Absolute.
absolute auctions, not,
Oh, there's 2, absolute,
yeah, Doyle was originally put in there, but it's absolute,
Yep.
that's who we have a
Oh, okay.
amended,
contract with.
amended to Absolute Auctions Realty.
Okay. Do I have a motion to declare certain vehicles surplus and authorize the auction of same?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. I'll do number 9, authorize the supervisor to advertise for the sale of surplus mulch. As I explained before, we've opened up our brush drop-off. We have a significant pile of mulch. What we do is we bring in a tub grinder, we double grind it so it's very fine mulch. We have a very large pile of it out there. And DC regulations that gives us the permit to operate over there requires that we remove as much mulch as possible. We will be hauling it out for our residents as we can, but I would like to see if we can circulate to see if there's any local landscaping businesses that'd like to put in a bid and remove the mulch for us. So if with the town would give me the authorization, I would like to advertise for sale of the surplus mulch.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And I'll talk with the clerk, and we'll get out some materials to circulate for this. I guess it's probably in Southern Dutchess, Poughkeepsie Journal, something like that. We use our official newspaper. All right, Peter, it's that time of year again. Snowplow bids.
It's getting cold.
Yes, it is, and because the highway department requires snowplow people and equipment, would you read resolution number 10, please?
Whereas the highway superintendent is allowed to utilize private contractors to assist them in removing the winter storms, and the town solicits annual bids for the contractors to assist the highway superintendent. Whereas bids have been received by the clerk in the town and are summarized in the attached schedule, now therefore be resolved that the town board hereby accept and approve bids on the attached schedule by the contractors and therein utilize the highway superintendent in the clearing of snow and ice in the winter season of the town roads.
Thank you, Councilman. What we have is actually, town of East Fishkill has 194 mile of town road. To plow that much town road with the people that we have at the highway garage, actually, we did, over the last few years, we've had 3 retirements. So we've been breaking up the streets into quadrants, and we send that out, we put that out for people to bid. We have actually put out 20 routes for bid. Of the 20 routes for bid, we have received 19 bids. We've received 19 bids, sidewalks and for ice control sand. And that is all attached to the resolution. So do I have a motion to authorize snowplow bids as provided?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did I hear?
She's just making sure that the 20th one that we didn't get a bid for isn't
Yeah.
hers.
No.
Now, I just wanna make sure that, you know, some of these have like 4 routes and they have enough, I hope.
Oh,
enough,
absolutely, the highway superintendent's met with
Right.
all. And the good thing about, you know, he knows the contractors, a lot of them worked for us in the past.
Are there
So
any
you-
new ones here?
He knows their equipment.
And the bid specs require inspection of the equipment.
Okay, good.
And
Prior
then they have to
to-
have a backup equipment
All right.
in order to qualify, so.
John, I don't think there's anybody new on this list.
No.
Okay.
Okay, motion, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Authorized grant writers funding for 1 quarter of 2013. We had hired a grant writer, Endeavor Services, Endeavor Incorporated, I believe, for several quarters. I believe we paid them for 5 quarters without what we had hoped to be the receipt of a grant. After a discussion with the grant writer, he has worked for us now for probably the last 7 months, free of charge, understanding our dissatisfaction with the performance. We do have we have 2 grants pending, and I would like to make another grant to New York State DEC on our Hillside Lake Stormwater Project. He will do that, and I do agree, after 7 months of working, he asked if he could at least get 1 quarter, have a contract for 1 quarter. So if the board's okay, we'd authorize 1 quarter at $6,000 a quarter. And as I said, he worked, I think, the last 7 months without any compensation. And then I said we would take it from there. If we're successful, we would consider going further, and if we're not successful, that will be the end of that. So, that being said, if the board is okay, do I have a motion to authorize the payment for a grant writer for 1 quarter?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Can I ask,
Sure.
if we do get the grant,
Mm-hmm.
he gets paid for his work that he did previously?
No.
Okay,
This is just going forward. His understanding is ours. We're just going forward now.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And oddly enough, he submitted a voucher with this request, so go figure. Oh, goodness, I tell you. One last.
Tabled that one.
I know, I should have. One last thing I did want to bring up, it's not on the agenda. I would like to set a public hearing for December 12th. What has happened, it's come up in the past, you just really realized that we have a lot of these, I don't know what you call them, retail mall establishments, where you have a store, deli, pizza place, arcade, what have you. And businesses move from one to the other. Oftentimes, when they move from one to another, they do not make any changes in the new place where they're moving to. In the past, our practice has been, if you're moving, you're gonna get what we call a fit-up permit. Fit-up permit is $375. And that's appropriate, because if you're doing work, if you're gonna come in there, you're gonna be a new business, you're gonna move walls, you're gonna put new counters, we need to make sure that there's enough space for the public, we need to make sure there's enough access in the event of emergency, we have to have our fire inspector inspect it. But for a retail or some type of establishment that's just going in there with no change, it seems like it's come to my thought is that $375 is too much if there's not being any change. We still have to have our fire inspector inspect it, but we don't really have to, do a full-blown review of plans. There really is nothing being moved. But also, on the other hand, New York State law states, New York State Building Code says the town of East Fishkill has to keep a tally of all businesses in the town and where they're located. So I would like to ask the attorney if we could put together, establish a law for operating permits and establish a fee. Fee would be about $75. I don't think that's too onerous. That would cover the paperwork done downstairs at the counter and an inspection by our fire inspector. But to change the law, otherwise they have to come in for fit-up permit, which again, I think is a bit too much. So I wanted to ask the board tonight if you'd be okay drafting this law to allow for operating permits, which is actually part of New York State Building Code. Any thoughts?
I don't have a problem with that. I understand it, but I'm hoping that it triggers, okay, if someone is moving in or out, it triggers something on the part of the landlord. Because as I stated a few weeks ago, there are some buildings in the town that the building itself needs some updating, some renewal, some attention. And besides the square footage of the business, the exterior of the building itself, which I believe would be the owners
Right.
of the building, that it would trigger something in the event that particular building needed some attention.
What I may add is what we are doing is with the site itself, we're checking the parking, the handicap spaces,
Okay.
any drop-offs, things like that, every time there's a fit-out permit. So I would like to think that we could maybe do the same thing even with these, because
Yeah,
it does clean up a lot of sites.
yeah,
It does.
absolutely.
But if I may, and we've had this
Right.
discussion before, I understand it cleans up a lot of sites, sites that should have been cleaned up anyway.
Right.
And should somebody who's moving in with a small business.
I'm not saying he pays it
Exactly, he shouldn't
at
pay it.
all.
And I don't know if he needs to be, that may be the trigger to come on the site, or do we just schedule so many inspections by a building or fire inspector per year to check out the handicap, the fire zone? And, because when you're talking with site plan compliance
Right.
versus a business person moving to a site that the store takes no changes, it's not gonna take any changes, so. I mean, that's my problem. Now, we had discussed possibly having on the application for the operating permit, maybe that the landlord would sign, say, certifying that this site is in compliance with my certified site plan. I don't know if that legally that does anything, Tom?
Well, I mean, it certainly gives you something to fall back on if it's untrue. I mean, but we should be clear that the operating permits, the state building code, New York State establishes the building code, and they require the towns to have a system in place so that the type of business is recorded, so that you know for fire purposes, for ambulance, et cetera, if there's chemicals, if there's flammables, things like that. And you're supposed to keep an inventory of those businesses and where they are, and we share that with the fire department. So that's under state law. We earlier this year adopted a law that brings us into compliance with state law, and that establishes operating permits. But now, what the town's never done is to list what requires operating permits. So the moving around of businesses would. Also, the other communities all around are propane exchange centers, because many times are they properly cars blocked from them so that they don't hit them, et cetera. And with an operating permit, the town would know there's an exchange center there, that it's been inspected, it'd be on a regular inspection schedule, whatever the state requires, and it brings all those kinds of things into compliance. It's not a new burden to the property owner. They're gonna need to be in compliance for their fire insurance. So it's a round robin thing. But certainly the town board can have whatever, normally whenever you issue as the engineer said, when you issue a building permit before you issue anything else on a building, you make sure it's in compliance with the site plan. I would think that there could be a system where it's not gonna hold up the new tenant moving in,
Right.
but it will at least establish a schedule when if the site's out of compliance, it's not requiring anything new.
Right.
All the buildings are approved with X number of spaces, et cetera. So,
Why don't we do this in that case then, because that is my problem. I hate to hold up somebody who's gonna move a business into a spot, and then all of a sudden, well, we have to do a full-blown site inspection. Why don't we use that as the trigger? Okay, you're gonna have a new occupancy here. Within 30 days, our inspector
whatever,
will be
you know,
out to certify.
obviously, if it's the middle of winter and it needs painting in the lines, it's gonna have to be longer
Right.
than 30 days, but, yeah, that could
You
be
see
worked.
what do you see what I deal with here? No, I'm only kidding. Yes, obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Well, it seems to me
Exactly.
it's more fair, because obviously
think-
now we don't have an operating permit.
yeah.
Right.
So if somebody comes in, they have to pay $375 for a fit-up permit when they're not fitting anything
Hmm?
up.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
It's
but that's not
illogical to
fair.
them, and they think they're
Absolutely.
being
Right,
so
but I can
dissuaded with-
understand on our side. But let me just say this too, I don't believe it's up to the occupant who's taking that retail spot that the entire site is in compliance. That's
No.
really up to the
No,
property
it's
owner.
right.
So this would actually be a trigger, and on the application, we would put that, the property owner signed, maybe the property owner would sign saying, understanding that it's in compliance, and within 30 days, the town will come out to check to be sure they're still in compliance.
I'm sure we'll be able to.
Weather fitting.
I'm sure we'll be able to come up with some language
Yeah.
from other communities.
Mhm.
You know, we're not the first one doing this, and we're just kind of trying to step up to where we should be in order to be in compliance.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, everyone will thank us someday, God forbid there's a fire, and there's
Yeah.
no problem with their fire coverage.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so.
And I think it's a little bit more efficient to the property, to the retailer, whomever, the business person. And I think that's really what we're aiming for, is just to be fair, so.
However, it doesn't address what I'm addressing.
No, you're really.
That is
yeah.
a little
Okay.
bit,
A tired, sleepy building is gonna remain a tired, sleepy building as long as it's in compliance.
Well,
Yeah.
kind of in line with what Ethel's saying, though. We have some buildings in this town, more than some, if you go around and look, that were pre-existing non-conforming. Now, once it's 2 years empty,
Right, it
now,
reverts. Right.
Loses
I
its-
think there's gotta be a way that we gotta look at this, because some of these buildings are never gonna become homes. These people own them, and they've got one choice, gonna knock them over.
are you talking about houses, Peter?
I'm
or-
talking about places that were, there's a bunch of them on the mountain, they were
Right.
businesses years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You remember them when they were businesses, because you grew up here your whole life. Carol remembers them up on top of the mountain. There's some here in the hamlet, there's some up, you know, all over, that have been empty for a couple of years. And the only thing they're good for is a business, unless they're gonna knock the building over and rebuild on it. I mean, I think there's gotta be a way that we can look at it, that maybe they can come back in with some type of public hearings, maybe a less onerous use. I mean, if you had a contractor's yard in the middle of a development, I don't think we're gonna give them another contractor's yard in the middle of four corners type thing.
Right.
But, you
Well,
know, maybe a
we
smaller
are-
store or,
We are talking about a law to look at old dwellings without permits and stuff. Would this be?
Well, that, but also the town planner and I and the engineer, we've discussed, like for the Hamlet area, that there might be a way that the town board could create an incentive
Mhm.
to a commercial building owner to improve the building. And part of that would be, since now they're all sewered, some of the sites would be amenable, they could perhaps put an accessory apartment or two in the building. And in exchange for doing that, the requirement would be that the facade has to be redone, the site, you know,
yeah, but I'm
clean up
thinking.
mine. And now
I'm
your
thinking-
issue,
I'm thinking more of some of these buildings
in the pre-existing
we could count
I-
8 to 10 of them.
I can think
that are-
of
They're
once.
abandoned.
Right, there's a situation on 82, almost at the town line,
There's one
that
on
it was a
82, and
house
there's about
with
three on
Yeah.
52.
a commercial, and it's been empty for years, but that one's right in the middle of a residential area. I think it depends upon, is it surrounded by houses, or is it surrounded by
Because
the
if
businesses?
it was
you know?
me and it's gonna come in with something that's not gonna be really onerous,
Right,
You'd rather have
I'd
that.
vote, I'd
Right.
vote at a public hearing, say, yeah, you're gonna clean it up, you're gonna make it look nice,
right.
and I'm not gonna have to really deal with anything, I'd want it.
Well, we can come to you with
Yeah.
what they call a reuse special permit, and what that would be, the zoning ordinance be amended, and it would do what you want, is it would allow the building to be reused in a similar type use, but it would require certain adjustments being made to
Right, yeah,
accommodate the
that's what I'm saying.
surroundings. So that would be it.
You know,
We'll
just
get
have to go to a public hearing
We'll
and
get you
stuff
some
like that.
ideas on that.
All right, well, maybe we'll take a look at that. I mean, we do have to discuss that other law about pre-existing without building permits. We talk about the very old residences.
Well, that's just another proposal we're going to come to you. The building department has found a lot of times, someone goes to sell their house or refinance, and they ask for a departmental search from the building department. And it comes out that their house was built maybe in the 70s. They may put an addition on, and there may be a whole mishmash in the background where, and they're not the people who owned it when the house was built. They're maybe the third owner. And we're finding that the records from the 70s and part of the 80s, on our side, maybe doesn't really show, was the building permit was issued, but was it built? Was the work done and everything else? So we're going to propose an amendment to the law that would allow those things to be closed out, and but also give the homeowner the opportunity to go through a process to get a regular C of O. But it would be the homeowner's option. So,
Wappinger says that.
yeah, we're going to have an administrative closeout of the permits, and it will clean up a lot of these
I
things.
think that's something we possibly could discuss at the next workshop meeting. Get these things together, maybe we'll sit down and talk about them. Tom, maybe we'd actually, bring our planner in, she could come in, and we could all discuss this. 'Cause I think this is you're very true, a very good point, Peter, about that. Okay, Ethel, I know that we're still not getting the work done.
No, I think Tom
but-
did address
yeah.
it.
Well, we had talked about that also. Councilman Danke and Councilman D'Alessandro and I talked about an incentive to have the business people in the hamlet redo their facades, and if there's money in New York State for facade reconfiguring, would be a wonderful thing, so. All right. Well,
I'm
we'll-
just talking about maintenance. We have some people who aren't even.
Doing basic
right,
maintenance.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we can discuss that. I think something we can put on for the workshop. All right, I think that's it.
We need a
You wanna
motion to
set
set
the
that
public
public
Oh, I
hearing.
didn't do that yet. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Make
Do I
a
have-
motion to set that public
Do
hearing.
I have a
on the
second?
12th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And we've gotten out of here without setting the public hearing. Now, I just asked the controller, any budget transfers tonight?
No budget transfers.
No budget transfers tonight. Time on the agenda, public comments on general town issues. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like? Yes, sir. He said, now, you're not Cornell Cooperative. They didn't show up tonight, but you're just as welcome.
Thank you.
You don't have 20 minutes like that, though.
No, you don't have 20 minutes.
I think it's going to take less than that. I'm Tom Cirencione. I live on Brothers Road. I've been a landowner for 47 years. I've seen the town grow, and I want to thank Ethel for her service and dedication to the board and the town of East Fishkill. I think it was well, she did very well in my eyes, and I think we're going to miss her. But I hope your person who fills that seat does just as good a job as you did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I would like to thank the board, since I seen the town grow, and I came from the city. The last 4 years was a trying time for everybody, with the way the economy is and everything. And the way the board, and I'd like to thank all of you, especially the last 2 years, how you budgeted the money and saved, I guess, the residents a lot of grief, even though you did have some grief. But I just want to thank the board that you did a hell of a job. And you made the town of East Fishkill a place to live, a nice place to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And yes, this economy has been very tough, but we've done our budgets to the best of our ability, and it hasn't been easy. So thank you very much. All right, anybody else like to speak on comments on general town issues?
My name is Anne Marie Baker. I'm from Hillside Lake, and I just wanted to, on behalf of Barbara Virtue, I wanted to thank Mr. Hickman and his assistant and whoever else may have brought to bear the notice on the marquee on West Virtue's passing and the notice on the website. I saw the Virtue family over the weekend, and they were appreciative of your
Wow.
efforts. So,
Wow.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. Wes was supervisor, I believe, we figured it was 1985, 82 to 85, something? 81, yes. And boy, I tell you, we appreciate all his work and his family. We give them, our sincere condolences for his passing. So, thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, with that, there's nothing else on the town board agenda. The only thing I would like to say is really to our professionals, thank you very much. One thing I would like to point out tonight that we depend very much on our attorney and our engineer for their expertise, and our controller. And when you thank us for the town running, these guys, our professionals, I tell you, are just terrific. They do a great job. And that's all I really want to say tonight. We have the best professionals, and everybody, I tell you, everybody on this board, and actually everybody in this room, we're all dedicated to the town of East Fishkill, and we all want to do the right thing for the town of East Fishkill, and that's really why we're here. As one gentleman said, that people complain, and yes, people do complain, but that's part of the job. But all in all, I'd just like to thank everybody, our board and our professionals, for the great job they do for the town. And I do think we really are very, very blessed to have a good town. So With that, Beth, I think you had one
Right.
announcement?
This Sunday, the rec department is having, once again, their Halloween party and parade at Van Wyck, starting at 3 and going till 5 o'clock. There'll be food, beverage, donuts, cider, music, Halloween bags for all, and also costume contests for ages 3 and under, 4 through 7, and 8 and older. And Bob Martinson will be there for your musical entertainment.
Oh, wow.
So this Sunday at Van Wyck.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Anybody else? Any other comments? Any other announcements? All right, there being none?
I just want to say something.
Another one.
Sorry.
I should limit you to one.
We're in the midst of a campaign for town board reelection, and it should be done with candidates in mind. And it should be done without, I think, bringing other individuals into it. And I'm just extremely disappointed with what I think the lack of professionalism and the lack of integrity. So I would just like to bring that up, and just couldn't let it go.
Okay. No, I understand that. I understand that. And some statements have been made criticizing our professionals. And again, I don't think you can find better people, better professionals, better at what they do than those that we have here tonight. And Ethel, I certainly understand why you had to make that statement. Anything else? Do a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried. Next town board meeting will be November 7th. That's combined budget.